Yeah, so have you seen all these videos online? It's called ASMR. Whispering, crinkling paper. There's even places you can go to have in-person ASMR sessions.
So some say that it's like a massage for your brain, and they say it can actually be effective. It's affecting your brain. So people listen to that all day, and they're everywhere, folks who make that content. So how does ASMR work? Like, what does it do to us? So we have Drexel Chair of Neurosurgery and the CEO of Global Neurosciences Institute, Dr. Vez, joining us. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And we know this is not a new phenomenon, ASMR. It's been around for a while, but with social media, a lot of folks, they have careers off of eating and doing different things.
That's exactly right. It's a new name for something as old as human beings have been around. And what it is it can be a sound or a touch. And the most common thing that you see on these videos, and by the way, there's 25 million social media or virtual pieces out there on ASMR, so it's very popular. But it can be the noises that you just made, the crinkling. It can be a very light touch, visual, watching. There's people simulating cutting hair, but they elicit the same response in the brain. There's a part of the brain called the limbic system, and what it is, it's a rush of chemicals that cause this euphoric feeling, and that's what ASMR is.
What does it stand for? What does that mean?
So it's a very long and complicated name for a simple thing. So it's autonomous sensory meridian response, and it's autonomous, meaning you don't have control over it. So people hear this, it's a automatic response. Sensory is what you feel, and the meridian means peak, and it used to be, there are different terms for it, but a peak of sensation, and then the response that an individual gets.
Wow, that's really breaking it down. So even though this has been around forever, we have new research on how it's affecting our brain, and we have even brain scans showing what it looks like?
That's exactly right. It used to be very debated of whether this was a real entity or not. And what you're seeing here is a patient who we know responds to ASMR and undergoes an MRI.
Wait, is ASMR different than ASMR?
It's ASMR. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what we're looking at, is functional MRI. Patients literally on a special MRI table, and they're hearing and seeing these videos. The person on the left is before the video starts, and then on the right, you see that lighting up like a Christmas tree, all those little orange and red spots. That's the part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, that has a rush of these chemicals. Dopamine, the happy neurotransmitter, oxytocin, which is the bonding, the maternal one, and then endorphins, which are actually protective enzymes neurotransmitters that the brain releases to help with anxiety and other things.
That all sounds fabulous. Should we all be doing this, or what are your thoughts?
So there's no downside to it, and that's the biggest thing. I think, like anything with children, parents always look at what your children are watching. There's mothers that are using this for their babies. But think Calm, the app Calm, this has been around for a very long time. The question is, do you respond or not? And I think for the audience, that crinkling can actually elicit an irritating response, and that's called misophonia, where clicking of a pen, tapping, that type of noise becomes very irritating, which is the opposite of the euphoric feeling you get with ASMR.
And you have numbers on the number of people who get the dopamine response versus who don't.
So the studies on this there's not a lot. Most of them are just taking cohorts of people who have this response. The estimate's about 10 to 15% of the population will have a positive response.
But 90% don't.
Which is
exactly
interesting
right.
If there are millions of videos catering to it.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
That's right. But there's levels of it. The euphoric feeling you get with the tingling, the brain massage, which is what's called piloerection or goosebumps on the back of your neck, your scalp. That's the 10 to 20% that you will elicit that. But for other people, listening to soft rain, listening to soft noises is very comforting.
Like a white noise machine almost, the stuff that you already know works, or that yoga music. That's my new favorite word. Weiler. What'd you call it? Wait, what was it? The
Piloerection.
Piloerection?
Yeah, which is goosebumps.
Mike would have loved that
Yes,
one. That
yeah,
is so
yeah.
good.
You're
All right.
Be glad he isn't here to react to that phrase.
Dr. Vez, thank you. We appreciate it.
Yes,
You're
thank
very
you.
welcome.